And bottom line viewers, it's Mitch here live for your NFL Week 14 power rankings, ranking every NFL team from the worst team in the NFL, number 32, to the best team in the NFL, the number 1 team. Spoiler alert, we have a new number 1 team. And we have quite a few changes inside that top 10, so you want to stick around to the end of the video to see that top 10. Before we get started though, you know what to do. Don't forget to spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new for more NFL power rankings every week. Also, spike the notification bell for the latest upload on the channel. I do want to give a quick shout to my own video, which I just posted today. It's a video that I spent a lot of time on. That is the Mike Vrabel, cannot speak, Mike Vrabel video, which is titled The Magic of Mike Vrabel, the NFL's best underdog. I'm going to leave the link in the comment section as well as the description and the live comment section, the pinned comment. Make sure to check that out. Give it a like. Leave a comment where you would rank Mike Vrabel as a coach. Go check it out, guys. It's a good video. I promise. You won't be disappointed, all right? It's the first video essay I made in quite some time, so definitely spend some time on it. Go check it out. All right, so we're here for our NFL Week 14 power rankings. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to Ben, who's not going to be very excited about where I rank his favorite team. We've got Big Al, who might be excited about where I rank his favorite team. He says, "What's up, brother? The Vrabel video was great. Thank you, man." He says, "People need to give the man some respect." I agree. Steeler Nation says, "Muth, spike that like button." What's up, Steeler Nation? Big win for the Steelers. What's up to Tessa, who says, "Mitch, you better rank my Seahawks at number 1. We deserve it." I don't know about that, Tessa, but we'll get around to the Seahawks here real quickly. Let's begin the list at number 32. No surprise by absolutely anybody. We got the Houston Texans at number 32. When you watch that game against the Cleveland Browns, they fumbled a quarterback sneak. They threw a screen the other way for a touchdown. They allowed a punt return touchdown. This team is an absolute disaster. I think they have to consider another new head coach for 2023. They had a new coach this year, Lovie Smith, new coach last year. They might have 3 seasons in a row with a new head coach, which I don't know if ever has been done before, but I would expect that to happen. I just don't see this team getting any better, any progression from this team. Obviously, I told you guys the team was only going to get worse when they went from Davis Mills to Kyle Allen. That has been the case. They played a Deshaun Watson, who we'll talk about the Browns in a minute, were not very impressive. That game, they had the capacity to win, and they just let it go. They let the other team win it. So that is the absolute definition of a terrible football team. At number 32, probably going to get the first pick. At number 31, I still got the Los Angeles Rams, despite a pretty impressive underdog performance against the Seattle Seahawks. Playing Seattle down to the wire was impressive. I was considering moving them up, but I just couldn't really put them anywhere higher on the list. The biggest storyline coming out of LA is that they did pick up Baker Mayfield on waivers today. So Baker Mayfield could be the starting quarterback for your Super Bowl champs very, very soon. I don't think I would have said that in my life, but that is the case. The number 31 Rams, just putrid quarterback play right now. No Stafford. Bad offensive line, although their run game has improved and it looked very nice against Seattle. Big problem for Seattle, can't stop the run. And defensively, they still hang in there even without Aaron Donald. So at number 31, the Rams are definitely better than the Texans. There's no doubt. You could argue maybe they're number 30, maybe they're number 29. I have them at number 31. At number 30, the Denver Broncos. Broncos are ahead of the Rams. The reason is they've got an elite defense. I don't think you can really argue that they don't have a very good defense. Now, they're going to be tested by perhaps the best team they've played all year. That's the Chiefs. This week, that will be a great showdown to see where the Chiefs are at offensively and where the Broncos are at defensively. Of course, they made the trade for Russell Wilson for that matchup alone, and it has not paid off, as Russell Wilson is arguably the worst starting quarterback in the game right now. Absolutely putrid. The offense is terrible. They can't score any points. The Ravens basically handed it to the Broncos, and they still couldn't win. They still couldn't win the game, guys. So, at number 30, I have the Broncos. At number 29, the Chicago Bears. I have the Bears at 29 because their defense is really bad. Can't stop the run. Can't stop explosive passes from being thrown over their heads. Aaron Rodgers had a field day, did whatever he wanted in that second half. Christian Watson made some big plays once again against the Bears, but they are a better team with Justin Fields. With Justin Fields, this is the 29th, 28th best team in the league. Without Justin Fields, this is like the 31st, 32nd best team in the league. They've got problems on the offensive line and pass protection. Without Darnell Mooney, they definitely lack explosiveness at wide receiver. And defensively, they just stink post Roquan Smith. At number 28, the Carolina Panthers. You could argue maybe they should be a little bit higher, and I contemplated maybe a couple spots higher. I do think that they're going to go into Seattle and give the Seahawks a good game this week. I think the Panthers, since firing Matt Rule, have actually improved. They've found an identity running the football. Even with getting rid of perhaps their best offensive player, Christian McCaffrey, they've found a power run game in Carolina led by Foreman and Hubbard that has been successful. Sam Darnold has, in his one appearance, played better than Baker Mayfield, now had the bye to look over some things and perhaps get better. Carolina could go into Seattle and make some noise. I wouldn't be surprised. Their defense, I do think, is like flirting with that top 10 range. They've got some very good players up front. Brian Burns, Derek Brown, Shaq Thompson. They're very athletic and they're well schooled. I think Carolina is definitely a tier above the bottom teams in the league. At number 27, the New Orleans Saints, who should have, could have, would have beaten the BUCS if not for Tom Brady, but they didn't. They made some errors there with clock management and play calling decisions at the end of the day. 3rd and 1, throwing a slant. Mark Ingram stepping out of bounds, although he was hurt on the play, so I can't really blame him. But the Saints, they always play the BUCS competitively. It's about the rest of the league that we've got to discuss here. The Saints defense is still pretty darn good. They play well in coverage. They do a very good job scheming things up. I don't think Demario Davis, over his 10-year career, has gotten enough respect for how good he has been. The D-line isn't quite what it was, but it's still decent. And I expect this secondary to get even better with Marshawn Lattimore if he decides to come back this year. But with that loss to the BUCS, it looks like they're just out of the playoff race. They're out of this season, and they're looking towards next year. Perhaps a new quarterback next year, maybe even a new coach. But the one thing that would suck for the Saints is to fire Dennis Allen and lose him as that defensive coordinator, because I do think he's valuable. At number 26 is the Indianapolis Colts. Jeff Saturday is just point blank period, an absolute joke. There's no reason that a pro NFL team with this much talent should be giving up 34 points in the fourth quarter to any NFL team. That's embarrassing. Jeff Saturday failed to manage that game against the Cowboys. His team fumbled the football, threw picks. It was terrible. And the Colts were right there for much of the game and just let it go. The Colts, the funny thing is, Frank Reich was not the issue. Obviously, they have issues with the quarterback play. Matt Ryan hasn't been playing great. Offensive line can barely protect. The run game is inconsistent. And the defense, I feel, is, as of late, a little spotty. I felt like they were better at the beginning of the year. They've slowly declined because of how much pressure is on them to make plays consistently, because their offense turns the ball over so much that it's just difficult for them to play double headers every game. But at number 26, I have the Colts. They're just disjointed and a mess. At number 25, the Arizona Cardinals. Speaking of disjointed and a mess, the Cardinals are kind of a disaster. The Cardinals have friction between their quarterback and their coach. Kyler Murray is talented, but doesn't actually perform to his talent level. The offensive line has slowly dwindled. The run game has not been very good this year. DeAndre Hopkins and Marquise Brown is as good of a 1-2 punch as you'll find in the NFL. Really, it is. And that's going to be interesting to watch throughout the rest of the season. But I don't think that they're going to have enough on both sides of the ball to win enough games to make it anywhere close to the playoffs. I think Cliff's going to be fired. I think Kyler is going to be under a lot of pressure next year because he's going to have a new coach. He's going to have a fresh slate, but he's still going to have that big fat contract that is like an anchor on this football team. I do think that they are well coached on defense. They play hard, but they just don't have a ton of talent at all three levels of the defense. At number 24, the Atlanta Falcons, who I moved down. I just think they're playing closer to their talent level right now. They just aren't that talented. I think this is the opposite of Arizona. Arizona is kind of a mess. Atlanta believes in what they are, plays to their best capacity, and plays with a lot of passion and heart. And they've got good leadership, but they're just not that talented. I mean, they don't have a very good quarterback in Marcus Mariota. They don't have a very good defense. They don't have a lot of A+ or even B players on this team. There's a lot of C++ players. This roster kind of needs a reshaping and a retooling as expected, but they've outdone expectations. They've been more competitive regularly than expected, and I think you've got to give a lot of credit to their coaching staff, specifically Arthur Smith, for what he's been able to do. Looking back at that 2019-2020 Titans team, you could see why they were so good. You had Mike Vrabel, you had Dean Pease, you had Arthur Smith. That's a pretty good staff at the end of the day. At number 23, the Jacksonville Jags. Jacksonville, they're just really tough to rank every week because they're so inconsistent. One week they can beat the Ravens. The next week they can get crushed by the Detroit Lions. That literally happened. So it's really difficult to get, an accurate assessment of this team. Trevor Lawrence, a lot of people don't talk about the inconsistencies of how he plays, the down moments of how he plays. Everyone wants to build him up with how well, he plays in these moments where he shines, but I never hear about the moments where he does not shine. And I think that needs to change because I think we need to start analyzing this generational talent for what he perhaps is. Doug Peterson, similarly at this point in his career, a bit inconsistent as a head coach. Inconsistent decision making. Sometimes he manages the game perfectly, sometimes not so much. Sometimes his team comes out and plays hard, sometimes they don't. Defensively, same story there. A lot of talent, a lot of high draft picks, not a lot of success. Travis Etienne's a beast, but he's been banged up. And their receivers, Zay Jones sometimes has good games. Christian Kirk sometimes has good games, but not consistent. Just not a consistent team. At number 22, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are at 22 after beating Atlanta. Thought was an impressive win. They had the lead for pretty much the entire game. And I just think they've been progressing. Like they've been playing better, right? They've been getting better, especially on offense. I think Kenny Pickett has done a better job of protecting the football. I think Kenny Pickett's done a good job of picking up yards with his legs when he can, making nice, accurate throws, giving his playmakers opportunities to make plays. I think the defense with TJ Watt there is just much better. They play a level above what they typically play. And this defense keeps them in it. This front seven plays hard. This front seven is just really talented with Hayward and Watt there, and it's a tough challenge for any offense to stop. So that is really where the Steelers shine, and it allows this offense with a rookie quarterback to keep themselves in the game and make a few plays at the end of the day. I don't think this team is going to the playoffs. I think they're going to finish somewhere around 7 or 8 wins maybe, but they're going to be a tough team to play at the end of the season, and a tough team to play for teams trying to make the playoffs, that's for sure. It might be a pain in the butt. At number 21, the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are at number 21. Aaron Rodgers playing better as of late. I think gaining more rapport with this receiving core, understanding who he can trust and who he cannot. I think the offensive line has been playing well as of late. I thought they dominated the line of scrimmage against Chicago. Christian Watson continues to shine, although he should see more targets than he has. And the defense, when they play bad offenses, they seem to play well. But when they play average or above average offenses, they seem to get outcoached. I feel like this Packers team is pretty average, but I would not count out Aaron Rodgers for making a late season push. At number 20, before I get to number 20, make sure that you Gronk spike the like button if you haven't already, guys. Show support for this video. And if you are new, don't forget to subscribe. All right. At number 20, the Las Vegas Raiders are at number 20. Playing the Chargers at home, beating the Chargers. I felt they've just found out who they are, found out what their identity is and how they need to play under Josh McDaniels. McDaniels has figured out the right buttons to push on offense. It's a lot of Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams, but it seems to be working. Mac Hollins and Foster Moreau seem to be making enough plays, and you do wonder what this offense would actually look like if they had a Darren Waller or a Hunter Renfrow in there. Their offensive line continues to improve, and Derek Carr continues to play better within this system, making good decisions and not turning the ball over as much. The defense, I thought, was the biggest takeaway for me this past week. I thought they played the Chargers really, really well. I thought they blitzed Herbert. I thought they made it really difficult on him to make some accurate passes. I thought they really flipped the switch in terms of just being more aggressive and trying to bring that aggression to get stops, right? Blitzing, forcing the issue, and getting more stops because of it. I think their defensive tackles are playing a lot better, which is opening up things for Crosby and Chandler Jones. And with Hobbs in the back end, he definitely gives them a number one corner that they can match up with certain players like a Keenan Allen. So at number 20, the Raiders continue to rise, and they continue to pick up wins here. And really, when you talk about the Raiders, they could be an 8-4 team right now. They really could be. They were up on the Jags and the Cardinals, right? And they were up on the Chiefs. All three of those games, they let go. Those were games that they didn't quite know who they were yet. They know who they are now, and they're playing better. At number 19, the New York G-Men. I got the Giants at number 19. Tough one to rank. They tied. They drew, as you would say, in the World Cup with the Commanders, the Commies. I don't really have a good grasp of what the Giants are going to do over the next few weeks of this season. I feel like they've been declining, but then all of a sudden they did play a Commanders team that was really playing well and winning and picking up a lot of W's. And, you know, they played them good, and I felt like they were the better team in that game. So the Giants, maybe their coach is making some adjustments here, but they still lack a lot of talent in the secondary, lack a lot of talent at wide receiver, especially on offense. And I'm just not sure if this Giants team is going to end up making the playoffs. But with how the NFC looks right now, it's hard to imagine that if they don't pick up just 2 more wins and get to 9, that they'll make it. So at number 19, I have the Giants. At number 18, the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson back in the NFL. Did not look his best against the Texans, as expected. Quite a bit of rust there. But the defense, the special teams, made their plays and actually won them that game against the Texans, which I think is a good sign. Even though it was against the worst team in football, even though I didn't think necessarily it means much going forward, it at least is a good sign that they won with special teams and defense for the first time this year. And it's funny that it happened in the first game with Deshaun Watson. So at number 18, the Browns. At number 17, the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers, I just think, are a flat average team, and they're mostly carried by Justin Herbert's play at quarterback. Offensive line Had some issues with the blitzes and the pass rush of Chandler Jones, Max Crosby, and the Raiders. Run game, hit and miss. And it's mostly on the arm of Herbert to make plays. Defensively, they still can't stop the run. Brandon Staley still hasn't figured it out. And he continues to be a guy that I would look to move on from if I'm the Chargers next year. They might or might not make the playoffs. If I were to rank teams for the Chargers, I probably wouldn't put them in the playoffs. At number 16, the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks are right in the middle of the league right now. I moved them back because they struggled to beat the Rams. They couldn't stop the run. They barely beat John Wolford. The Rams are my 31st team in the league. It was at home, I believe. Seattle's offense continues to play well. They continue to score points on pretty much everybody. Geno Smith, Metcalf, Lockett. But they lost Kenneth Walker. They lost that dynamic running back for their running game. The defense has just declined steadily throughout the last few weeks. They just have not been able to stop anybody, and that's a huge concern going forward. At number 17, I already did. At number 15, I've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bucs are a tough team to rank because they definitely stole one against the Saints, but that's what happens when you have Tom Brady, right? You know, he's going to steal games for you a couple times every season, and they made a miraculous comeback, but hey, it wasn't just the Saints losing the game. It was the Bucs winning it. Their defense made enough stops, and I think the unique thing about Tampa Bay is they're a really tough team to close out at the end of the game. And it allows Tom Brady to come back in a lot of games because they're just so good at stopping the run. So when teams with like 4 minutes left in the game are trying to run the ball and ice the game, the Bucs are, when you're running the ball, the Bucs are getting 3 and outs, getting the ball back, and using those 4 minutes to come back in the game, right? So that is why the Bucs are like always in the game at the end this year, because that defense stops the run so well when teams are not wanting to pass that it's hard to ice them out, and Tom Brady just makes these plays in 2-minute situations. As I saw a stat this year, the Bucs offense is second when they go to hurry up 2-minute situations and 26th in all other situations, which to me points to, well, Tom Brady calling the plays, it's a good offense. Byron Leftwich calling the plays, not so much. So maybe they should use more tempo and use Tom Brady as, let's say, Peyton Manning going forward. That could be an idea. But the Bucs defense, not even healthy yet. I do think when they are healthy, they are a top 5 defense in football because of how well they stop the run, how they can get after you through blitzing the quarterback, and they've got a talented secondary with Logan Ryan back in there. Did not have Winfield, did not have Mike Edwards, did not have Sean Murphy-Bunting in that game. I think they will be better going forward. Offensively, though, it was a weird game for the Bucs. They struggle with the Saints. I feel like they had a bit of rhythm early, lost it, but they are running the ball better, which is a nice sign. At number 15. Thank you, You Wish, for the super chat, by the way, bro. Appreciate it. Says, what's up, Mitch? I know it's a little late, but how about them Bucs last night? Salty ain'ts who blew that. Or he wants me to say, who blew that? Actually, that's kind of hard to say. But thank you, You Wish. I appreciate the $5, man. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on. We've got at number 14, the Detroit Lions. Yes, I got the Detroit Lions at number 14. And I would take them to beat the Bucs right now. I would. Maybe that's crazy because the Lions are the Lions and the Bucs have Tom Brady. But the way the Lions are playing right now is super impressive. I mean, they really score points on most teams. They score points on 90% of the league. They get into 24 to 27 points regularly. And last week they got 40 points. So what do you got to say about that? Jared Goff plays well under Ben Johnson in this offense, using a lot of play action, getting the ball to his playmakers. I can't say enough about Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's been absolutely spectacular lately. Their run game is really strong, and it allows them to control the game offensively. Their offensive line, as we know, is an elite unit. And I'm excited to see what Jameson Williams can do over the next few weeks, to see how much more involved he can get. Defensively is really where I've been surprised. I think they've really turned a corner, played a lot better. I think their defensive line whooped the Jags' candy asses up front. And they've been stopping the run a lot better. They've been rushing the passer better. And I just think they found a bit of an identity and a formula on defense to make them a more competitive all-around team. They started the season with a dynamic offense, but a bad defense. They've found both sides of the ball working right now. So the Lions definitely deserve to be in my top 15. You could argue if they're better than the BUCS or not, but I have them at number 14. Next up, we got the Baltimore Ravens at number 13. The reason I got the Ravens at 13 is it's hard to know what they're going to be without Lamar Jackson, how long that's going to be, how short that's going to be, and how good they're going to be, period. Like, Lamar could be out a week, Lamar could be out 2 weeks, so it's a really difficult team to rank because of that. I think they have a pretty good defense. I think it's like a top 12 defense in the league. I don't think it's top 10, but it's kind of around that range. They've got a lot of big people, allows them to stop the run. Their pass rush has gotten a lot better, and their secondary has some good corners and safeties. And they've got a very good coach, and the offense right now is really the trouble for me. Their offense is just struggling, and now you take away Lamar Jackson, they can't find a way to pass the ball. Their pass game is just pathetic. They've got no identity in the pass game, no weapons in the pass game, no ability to strike through that passing game. The drop-back passing game especially is pathetic. But I think with Lamar there, they're a top 12, top 11 team. Without Lamar, I dip them a bit. Tyler Huntley's a good backup, but I'm kind of balancing with and without Lamar with this ranking. At number 12, the Washington Commanders. I got the Commanders at 12 because they played very well as of late, but they tied the Giants. And really, guys, the NFL right now, especially from number 11, 10, 9 through 20, is not that different. I mean, you could rank these teams a bunch of different ways, but I think the Commanders have been the most consistent team. I think they've played good defensively. I think they've played strong on the line of scrimmage. I think they've ran the ball well. I think that their playmakers are underrated. And I think that they coach and manage the game through Ron Rivera pretty smartly. So I want to give them their credit at number 12. But it's hard to balance. They don't have a ton of upside. They're just a very solid competitive team from week to week. At number 11, I've got my New England Patriots at 6-6. I expect them to go to Arizona and beat the Cardinals. Then they got a date with the Raiders and Josh McDaniels the week following. The Patriots are right on that edge of playoffs right now. They've got an offense that has been an absolute roller coaster this year. Quarterback play that has been blamed for it, but it hasn't been the biggest issue. The play calling has been a disaster, and the scheme as a whole offensively is horrific under Matt Patricia and Bill Belichick. It's really that bad. It's maybe the worst scheme in football. And if they had, let's say, Josh McDaniels as their OC, this would be a top 10 team without a debate. Because they have a good defense, they make plays on special teams, Marcus Jones is dynamic, and Matt Judon, Josh Uche, dynamic. Christian Barmore will come back. Ramondre Stevenson, absolute animal. So I think they're going to fight for that playoff spot. They're going to be very close. Okay, it's going to be between them and a couple other teams to get in there. But the Patriots, if they can figure out just the right buttons to push on offense, they could give any team a good game. Okay? Other than maybe Buffalo, because they just don't seem to play well against that team. At number 10, I got the Tennessee Titans. Titans, I think, are very similar to New England. I think they're like the best above average teams, with good coaching for the most part, but they just they lack like that elite quality in certain aspects. The Titans are a very physical team. They're a tough team, but they've proven to us over the last couple of weeks they just can't hang with the top dogs of the NFL. The only top dog they've really been able to beat or were very close to beating was the Chiefs. The Bengals game was back and forth, but the Bengals, I thought, mostly the better team in that game. And then they play the Eagles in Philadelphia and get blown out. So I don't think this Titans team is it's just not as talented as it was. And I think that's the difference. But they're very well coached. They've got a pretty good defense. They run the ball. And Tannehill, I think, is underrated in general. He does make quite a few throws and plays and scrambles on third down situationally. I give their offense the edge over New England right now. At number 9, I have the New York Jets. The Jets are number 9. They've got a top 3 defense. And I put them at number 9 because I thought they were much better than the Vikings for about 2.5 quarters in that game. But their failures in the red zone kept them from winning that game. The Vikings stepped up situationally on third down and in the red zone to make some key crucial stops. And the Jets just weren't able to execute. But they thoroughly dominated the Vikings in that second half. And that showed me something. On top of that, I think their offense with Mike White at the helm is a lot more capable than it was previously. Garrett Wilson continues to shine. And they've got enough in the running game. But the defense is awesome. Keeps them in every game. And makes them relevant as an underdog. So at number 9, I like the Jets over teams like the Titans and the Patriots with how they're playing right now. At number 8, the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins got blown out by Brock Purdy, which is why they moved down a couple spots in my power rankings. Tua showed his biggest weakness, which is if you pressure him, make him play fast, he will get a little timid, a little scared, a little on his toes, and perhaps make some bad decisions, some bad throws. Miami, defensively, is my biggest concern. They're not going to play defenses like the Niners every week. Okay, that's not going to happen. But defensively, they're failing to make stops. They're failing to make plays. And it's not because they don't have talent. They definitely do. But it hasn't come together this year for Miami's defense. They're kind of a one-dimensional team right now. And if they don't make plays on offense and they don't score a lot of points, I think they're going to lose most games. If they don't score 30, 27 in a game, they're probably going to lose versus the best teams in the league. That's just the way it is right now. At number 7, the Minnesota Vikings, who I did move up after their win against the Jets, and they did have a nice first half, but again, thoroughly dominated in the second half. I thought the Jets probably should have won the game, but here's where the Vikings continue to shine, which is situationally. Third down, red zone. They continue to shine and make things count. And that's the weird thing about the Vikings. They don't show up well in statistics or DVOA or analytics or anything like that, because they're a very hit and miss team. Their offense is like touchdown or punt. Big play to Justin Jefferson or no play at all. And then their defense is pretty bad, but they're really good at bend but don't break defense. So the Vikings are my number 7 team. I think they've got the offense to play with any of the top teams. It's just a matter of how well their defense can execute in those big moments to beat the top teams. And that's what things will come down to for the Vikings at number 7. At number 6, the 49ers with Brock Purdy are at number 6. So not including Jimmy Garoppolo in this ranking. I think the Niners defense is the best in football when healthy. I think they have a great skill position group led by a strong running game. Christian McCaffrey, really like how Jordan Mason is playing as a rookie. Kyle Shanahan's my top coach in the game. DeMeco Ryans is one of the best DCs there is. I used to have them at number 2, And I may have even ranked them at number 1 if Jimmy was still healthy. But I just don't know what we're going to get out of the quarterback position and how much that's going to limit this football team and this offense moving forward. They picked up Josh Johnson, which I think is intriguing because he does have some legs to him as well as experience. If Brock Purdy does fail, I could see Josh Johnson going in there, and he hasn't played that bad in his recent starts in the NFL. But Jimmy Garoppolo, the news is better as of late. He could return in the playoffs, which is great news. I think the Niners, even without Jimmy, will still be very competitive in the playoffs because of their defense, because of their coaching, because of their running game. So at number 6, I got the Niners. At number 5, I've got the Kansas City Chiefs. I moved them from number 1. Although, like I said last week, it was mostly a record thing, why I had the Chiefs over the Niners. But the Chiefs, I think I've just, after seeing them sitting back and looking at their schedule and who they have beaten and who they have not, I just realized that for the good teams that they have played, they have not beaten. You could argue that Niners game was impressive, and I wouldn't disagree. But the Niners were pretty beat up in that game. And looking back at it, the Niners now are a different team than they were then. But they lost to the Bengals and the Bills. They're 2 primary teams that they've got to play and they've got to beat. They haven't really beat anybody else. So it's tough for me to justify ranking them in the top 3 when 2 of the teams in the AFC that they're going to be playing in the playoffs already beat them. So as of right now, the Chiefs are at number 5. Could that change? Yeah, they could definitely move back up with a few wins to end this year and end the season hot, going into the playoffs. I'll move them up to 4 or 3 probably. But it's tough for me to justify them being over teams like Buffalo and Cincinnati. So at number 5, I've got the Chiefs. I don't trust their defense. I feel like their offense has to score every possession for them to win these games, and that's just not very realistic. At number 4, the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals beat the Chiefs in Cincinnati. You could argue the score was closer than the game was, but the Chiefs, they did fumble, they missed a field goal. There was some unlucky nature to the Chiefs as well. But Cincinnati, I thought, just controlled the game with their offense. They limited the possessions for the Chiefs. Joe Burrow made throw after throw after throw, ball after ball after ball. And I really like how their offense is protecting. I like how they're running the ball. I like how they're moving people in the run game. And I feel like that offensive line that they signed is coming together. And defensively, they're very well coached. They game plan well. And their front 7, I think, is really athletic and underrated. So at number 4, I've got the Cincinnati Bengals. At number 3, the Dallas Cowboys. I've got the Cowboys at number 3. I think the Cowboys have a very well-rounded team. And you guys know I'm all about well-rounded football. I'm not a guy that's going to rank you in the top 3 just because you have a great offense. I need to see good defense. I need to see good offense. I need to see special teams. I am a Pats fan at the end of the day, and that's what I'm built on. Those core principles, okay? So at number 3, I got the Cowboys because what do? They run the ball well. What do? They pass the ball pretty effectively and efficiently. And right now, Dak's playing pretty well. CeeDee Lamb's playing amazing. Michael Gallup is getting healthier and healthier and making plays. Zeke looks quicker. Pollard is a beast. The O-line will only get better with Tyron Smith. And the defense has the best pass rush in the game, led by Micah Parsons. A secondary that's a little bit beat up now, but I think still pretty good. And a very good defensive coordinator. At number 3, the Cowboys. At number 2, the Buffalo Bills. The Bills, I just think the difference between the Cowboys and the Bills is Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen. And that's really the difference. I think the Cowboys have probably a bit better of a defense than Buffalo, but both are built fairly similarly in terms of, playing with speed, playing with energy, playing with pass rush with 4, and then playing a lot of coverage in the back end. And then offensively, I just think Josh Allen is a freak show. He proved that again against New England, and Stephon Diggs is basically uncoverable every single week, no matter who he plays. And the run game has been a bit better as of late. I would like for another receiver to step up behind Diggs as we trend forward towards the playoffs. Who is that number 2 in the pecking order? I'd like to see that. At number 1, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles against the Titans. Thoroughly impressive. I thought the Titans were going to be able to keep that close, make it a tough game for the Eagles. Not that the Titans would win, but I thought the Eagles would maybe struggle with a team that is good at the line of scrimmage, physical, tough, can stop the run, can run the ball. That has been their issues as of late. Well, that wasn't the case. Jordan Davis was back. Sue is getting better, even with his age still shining. And I thought the secondary played a lot more sound. And I felt like the offense ran the ball when they needed to. But the biggest thing I was impressed by the Eagles was their ability to play left-handed. Their ability to play with one hand behind their back. The Titans said, okay, we're going to take your run game away from you. We're going to stop the run. We're going to stop Miles Sanders. We're going to contain Jalen Hurts. So what the Eagles did from there was, well, Jalen Hurts, you're going to drop back. You're going to throw the ball. You're going to make plays to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And to me, that is the sign of a great team. That's the sign of a Super Bowl team. That's what I saw in this game against the Titans. Can they continue to do that? Maybe, maybe not. But I had to downgrade them for how they were playing the last few weeks. But after this performance against Tennessee, they've catapulted back to the top of the league. Their record speaks for itself. But now they're thoroughly impressing me on both sides of the ball. And that's what it's all about. So at number 1, the Philadelphia Eagles are my number 1 team. There you guys go. Those are my NFL power rankings for week number 14. The Philadelphia Eagles, number 1. But it's an interesting, top 7, I would say. I think the top, 7 or 8 teams in this league are pretty darn good. The rest of the teams, I don't really know. You've got teams like the Jets in the top 10, which is a little weird, but yeah, let me know what you guys think of my power rankings. Don't forget to check out my new video on Mike Vrabel, the best underdog in the NFL. Link in the description, also in the pinned comment. Check that out, guys. Thank you so much for watching. It's Mitch of the Bottom Line View. Appreciate all of you tuning in. Marcus Hanna, Big Al, Tong, Ben, Big Data, Big Al, again, Jackson, Becca, who else? Lions Mania, Caesar, I'm a depressed Detroit fan. Shout out to you. You Wish with the super chat. Brian, thank you, man. Although I don't like your comment very much. Thanks, guys, for watching. Raymond, Lucas, Tessa, thank you guys for tuning in. It's Mitch of the BLV. We will see you tomorrow for my NFL picks. Peace.